So good day everyone. Today I will going to discuss the guiding principles for teaching and learning MTB-MLE. So there are 8 principles for teaching and learning MTB-MLE. Namely, Principle 1, known to the unknown, and Principle 2, language academic development. Principle 3, cognitive development. Principle 4, discovery learning. Principle 5, active learning. Principle 6, meaning and accuracy. Principle 7, language learning or language transfer. And last but not the least is active or affective component. So, I will going to discuss and explain. So, principle 1, known to the unknown. Learning requires meaning. We learn when we use what we already know to help us understand what is new. Our second language learners use what they know in their own language, significant and reading. So it means that you're going to activate your student's background or the prior knowledge, and you're going to use that in order for your students to relate that lessons. And that's what Passivol has said, that important single for factor influencing learning is from that learning already known, namely that their skills, their background knowledge, their past experience, and assertiveness in its strings coordinate. So, how are you going to apply that? So, application starts with without, or start with what the learners already know about a topic, and use that to introduce the new concept beginning with the learner's factors or first language, and culture will better facilitate mastery of the curriculum content. Nowhere or is the role of prior knowledge more important than in a second language. Educational context. Students who can access their prior knowledge through the language and culture most familiar to them can tell or can call on a rich array of schemata, whereas students who believe they can only use knowledge they have explicitly learned in the second language are limited in their access. Or Chamot 1998, page 197. So meaning to say, for example, if you have a Muslim students, what you're going to do or what you're going to use use their Quran, so that the Muslim students can relate to your topic. So another one is principle 2, language academic development. So if you can see on the chart, there will be a ABC, developed language, a first language, and the second one is easy and full accusations of second language and third language, etc. So the third is academic achievement. So what is meant about that language academic development? So it means that if you have the students which has a skills in their first language, and their skills is we can known that develop, we know that they are showing being for to be more potentials or more equipped in learning. So how are you going to apply this language academic development? So in these applications, continue the oral development of second or of first language, and begin reading in first language to strengthen the academic achievement across the curriculum. Genius et al. 2006. So How are you going to apply that? So, principle 3. So, principle 3, cognitive development. Students who use their multilingual skills have been shown to develop both the cognitive flexibility and divergent thinking, usage of high order thinking skills or HOTS. So, when we say multilingual, they are the students who can use different kinds of language. For example, when we use the word hello in other language, they are using speaking hola bonjour, bonsoir. Hello different of language from different kinds of context or different countries. So how are you going to apply that? The cognitive development. So applications in all subjects focus on activities that build understanding and encourage students to apply, analyze, and evaluate what they have learned to create new knowledge. So, because of your critical thinking of first language and your mastery on how you learn of using second book, your first language can be applied in the second language and third language. And this said by Jim Cummins. For example, people learning Filipino, example from how you introduce yourself. If you already know the method of structures in introducing yourself in first language in Filipino, you can already to introduce yourself. For example, is English and Korea. So the HATS, how are you going to apply that? So so the HATS or the HATS is meaning to say we need to take a look at the objectives. For examples, in Bloom taxonomy, it is simple to understand, to analyze, and evaluate, and create, where focus more on sample who complex to remember. So, another is principle 4, discovery learning. Learn when someone who already understand the new idea of task help us to discover the new idea, then use it meaningfully. So in this discovery learning, if I'll be going to define discoveries here, means you are or you are your concept, your idea, you explored and we learn new ideas. It helps us to acquire and accommodate something we really have learned that ideas if we can apply it and practice it a real context. So how will you going to apply that? So in these applications, find out what the students already know about a topic, then provide activities a topic, then that left them use their language, um, use their knowledge to learn the new concept or task, Brunner 1967. So how are you going to apply that? Meaning to say, for example, if you have teach your students these lessons or topic, you will be going to give them exercises, produce practices, worksheets, activities in order to assess or to guide if your students really have learned from you a lesson that you have discussed. Okay? So another principle is active learning for interactions, peers, and teachers. So, second language, active learning, learners gain confidence during in the hear, say, do active, hear, say, do activity. Purposeful tasks, talking make us sense of new ideas and informations. So, From the word itself, what comes in your mind? From the word itself, active learning. It means that the learner is not a passive learner. She or he tries to interact with the other learners. That's why one of the major actions. The place in the principle, it is interactions, there is a collaborations of the learners and students. So meaning to say, they would not only be implying on the independent learning, but rather they will try to cooperate and work, could, collaborate, me here, children's best through peer interactions, in which they will work together in creativity, solve a problem. So we all know that peer interaction is much better, really. So how will you going to apply active learning, or how will you going to integrate? So application to most activities in teams or peers. Encourage students to talk with each other and compare the idea in order to solve problem. So how can you apply, or how can you integrate peer interactions in the classroom settings? Do most activities. Magpagawa tayo ng mga activities. In teams or peers, encourage students to talk each other and compare ideas in order to solve the problem. So here, what good point is that you can compare your work, feedback, and receive message criticisms. So you are not only one judging from your work, but rather the works individuals who can tell your work in good and feedback. However, you need to accept criticisms positively, okay? So even though there's a negative feedback or positive feedback, we need to accept that, because we cannot please other people if we have a mistakes, because I believe that nobody is perfect. So another one is the principle 6, meaning and accuracy. Meanings and accuracy. So successful language learning involves hearing, speaking, reading, and writing activities that focus both meaning and accuracy. So what does it mean? So here is drilling, speaking, reading, and writing activities. The focus, meaning, and accuracy. So we all know that meaning and accuracy are important components in learning a language. Why? Because we need to always deliver a certain message, a specific message that sometimes meaning in front to several interpretations. That's why we need to deliver a message. So how are you going to apply, or how are you going to integrate the meaning and accuracy? So in these scenarios, so if you can see this, how can you integrate meaning and accuracy in the classroom setting? So far, instance, you want to discuss the tenses of the verb in multicultural classroom. You can make some texts that focus on multicultural education. So number 7 is principle 7, language learning or language transfer. Language transfer refers to a speaker or writer's learners applying knowledge from one language to another language. So there will be communications, or like the number 7 per interactions. You have to communicate other people. You have to communicate your learners, and that's why they can communicate to as a future educator. So the number 7 is, so it means that that environment on the atmosphere where you are working and positive. It is the second folder is low, because when effective, better, or threatening environment is low, you can converse without filtering all your message. You exactly point, you are not conscious, but rather you just after the conversation on, or after the language and how you were delivered to your partner. So how are you going to apply this? As in these applications, plenty of activities that focus on vote meaning and accuracy. So there will be similarities on principle 6 um, because it will be discuss your topic and lessons. There will be interactions. So, so how are you going to apply that? Meaning to say, we used to consider the vocabulary. You need to have a rich vocabulary because how can you write and speak at the same time if you don't have a wide vocabulary? So, tama nga naman no, paano natin makakapag-communicate kung hindi tayo o kung hindi tayo hindi wide yung ating vocabulary. So, last but not the least is the affective component. So in this affective component, valuing the home language cultures, valuing students with talents in their home language more powerfully enables learning that just valuing learners of English whose home language is irrelevant to academic success. Learners from ethno-linguistic groups thrives in a welcoming learning environment. Yes. So from the word affective, there will be an emotional dimensions or aspects that we implicated with the learners you've reached to value the home language culture. So value as students with talents in their home language. So for example, you came from a province and you already know your first language. You will solve your second language Filipino, most probably foreign language, English, or it could also consider as your language. Or it could also your second language rather, and if only you are using the casually and a conversation and a conversations, so have that the students who have a unique skills and talent, you can make use of both in classroom settings. For instance, can provide activities that improve more their strengths. So how can we integrate this affective component? Applications learners are encouraged when they know they are valued in the classrooms and their language and heritage are seen as resources by Jim Coleman's promoting literacy and multilingual contexts. Research monograph number 5, the literacy and the numeracy, Secretariat, Ontario Ministry of Education 2007. The classroom environment children from ethno-linguistic language groups thrives in a welcoming environment in which teachers and peers value as a positive or prove books, visual representations, concrete objectives that classrooms and the schools encourage the use of their first language. Provide books, visual representations, and concrete objectives that reflect their background and interests. So, meaning to say, the applications, if we would really use those authentic sources, that students would become more motivated to your lessons. They are participate easily since the relevance background knowledge in use in the classroom settings. Okay, that's all the 8 principles of guiding for teaching. So, once again, this is Alde Arniduval from BS8 Filipino 22. I hope that you have learned a lot from me. Thank you and God bless.